Welcome to Direct U.S. Immigration's channel, where you get direct access to our most up-to-date immigration and global mobility space. My name is Maitreya Brown, and I'm going to talk about a visa that allows spouses and unmarried children of L-1 visa holders to come to join them in the United States. You're not going to want to miss out on this one. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Maitreya Brown, and I am a U.S. immigration attorney based in Washington, D.C. I am also the principal attorney at Direct U.S. Immigration, where we work with clients in all 50 states and around the world. Before we start, click on the like and subscribe button to follow our Immigration Hub to get the latest immigration information that could be vital to your case. And also, be sure to stick around until the end to get a bonus tip about the L-2 visa process for your dependents. As you know, thousands of people move to the U.S. every year. Many come to the U.S. due to an intercompany transfer on an L visa. If you or your spouse is an L-1 visa holder, you may wonder what your family's options are regarding moving to the U.S. So today, we're here to discuss how immediate family members of L-1 visa holders may enter and stay in the United States by obtaining L-2 status. So let's take it a step back. So your spouse or your parent has just gotten an offer to transfer from their workplace in your home country to the company's affiliate in the U.S. They will be applying for the L-1 visa either as a manager or executive, and that's within the L-1A visa, or as a specialized knowledge professional, which is in the L-1B visa category. Now, if you are worried about whether you will be allowed to join them, you should stop worrying now. As their spouse or unmarried child under 21 years old, you can join the L-1 visa holder as a dependent on L-2 status. So the L-2 visa is very similar to the H-4 visa, which is for dependents of the H-1B visa. Now, with an L-2 visa, you can study in the U.S., get a driver's license, open a bank account, travel in and out of the U.S. as long as your visa is valid, and have other benefits. Your L-2 visa status is directly tied to the L-1 visa primary holder, meaning that your visa validity, options of extension or renewal, and change of status depends on that L-1 primary visa holder. So if the L-2 visa application is successful, spouses coming to the U.S. can work immediately. If you are outside of the U.S. and are a spouse or unmarried child under the age of 21 of an L-1 visa holder and you want to apply for an L-2 visa, you need to do the following. So you will need to complete the DS-160 online non-immigrant visa application, and this is the first step required to initiate the application process. Once you fill in all the information that the form asks for, you will receive a confirmation page. Now, make sure to print it out and keep it as you will need to show it during the visa interview at a later stage in the application process. You will also need to pay the application fee. So to complete and submit the DS-160 form, you will have to pay the application fee of $160. Now, sometimes you might also have to pay an additional fee depending on your country of origin. You will then need to schedule a visa interview in your home country's U.S. Embassy or consulate. And this is an essential part of the application process because without the interview, you will not be able to receive your visa and travel to the U.S. And finally, you will need to attend your visa interview. So once your biometrics are taken, you can attend the L-2 visa interview. Now, the purpose is to verify whether the information you included in your application is genuine. So the interview usually lasts no longer than 20 minutes. Now, if you meet the eligibility criteria and all of the information you provided in the application is true, you can expect a positive outcome. In most cases, your visa is approved and the consular officer will inform you about it right after the interview. Now, if you apply for this visa while inside the U.S., you would just file Form I-589, submit your biometrics, and then receive your L-2 visa approval. If your application for the L-2 visa is successful, your visa will be valid as long as your relative's L-1 visa lasts. So this means that you can stay in the U.S. as long as the L-1 visa holder is permitted to be there. And once you receive your L-2 visa, you can leave and re-enter the U.S. as often times as you want. Generally, the L-1 visa is valid for up to 3 years with the possibility of getting additional extensions with a maximum of 5 or 7 years. Now, the maximum duration of the L-1 visa depends on the type of your relative's employment. After that, the L-1 visa holder must leave the U.S. and spend at least 1 year outside of the country before reapplying for a new L-1 visa. And the same applies to the L-2 visa holder in terms of amount of time that they can spend in the U.S., as well as that period where they will need to exit for a certain amount of time and then re-enter to reapply. The L-2 visa is designed for the dependents of L-1 visa holders. Only those whose relatives are currently in the U.S. on an L-1 visa are eligible for an L-2 visa. Or the prospective L-1 and L-2 visa holders can apply at the same time at the embassy or consulate. To be eligible for the L-2 visa, one of the following statements must apply to you. So you are either legally married to an L-1 visa holder, or you are an unmarried child under the age of 21 of an L-1 visa holder. These are the main requirements for the L-2 visa. If you do not fall under either one of those categories, but you still want to come to the U.S. to be with your loved one, you might consider applying for a different U.S. visa. So, for example, you could apply for a B2 tourist visitor visa instead to visit the U.S. temporarily. And if your application is successful, you will be able to come to the U.S. for holidays, but you will not be able to work there. To be able to proceed with your L-2 visa application, you will have to submit the following documents: a valid passport, an original marriage or birth certificate, and a copy of your relative's approved petition for the L-1 visa. So, generally speaking, just the approval notice is sufficient. Now, if you fail to include these documents, your visa application might be delayed or even denied. Now, if you are unsure what documents are required, seek advice from us at Direct U.S. Immigration. We will help you to prepare your evidence, ensuring that your application is complete. In the past, when you were granted an L-2 visa, you did not automatically receive the right to work in the U.S. However, now, your work authorization is automatic upon receiving that L-2 visa approval. Since you are bound directly to the L-1 visa holder, if the L-1 visa holder applies for a green card, you are also eligible to apply as his or her dependent. Since the L visas are dual intent visas, you are not required to submit proof of intent to return home to prove strong ties to your home country when applying for the L-2 visa. Now, if your spouse or parent applies for an employment-based green card, you are allowed to join them and must submit the relevant documentation. If the L-1 visa holder's green card is approved, then you as their family also fall into the category and get your green card. Though it is important to note that each individual has their own application and goes through their own inadmissibility and admissibility standards. So of course, each application will be adjudicated for review based on whether that individual specifically qualifies for the green card. As promised, here is some bonus information that you may not know about. So a few tips when you're going through the L-2 visa process for dependents are as follows. So if you and your spouse or parent, so that L-1 visa holder, are filing together, it is best to submit your application simultaneously. If your last name was changed after your marriage, make sure that you provide proof of your name change if your passport still has your maiden name. Also, if married, you will need to provide your marriage certificate. If you are the child, your birth certificate or adoption papers are sufficient. After receiving your visa, be sure that there are no errors with the name, date of birth, or validity period. Also, L-2 status can be renewed or extended at the same time that the primary L-1 visa holder renews theirs. So be aware that you can't leave the U.S. and re-enter if you don't have a valid visa. And lastly, it is important to remember that your time in the country while on an L-2 visa will not count against the 6-year maximum limit for H-1B professionals if you decide to switch to H-1B status. I hope you found this video helpful. Subscribe if this content or information helps you in any way. Comment below if you want me to talk about something in specific, and share this resource widely because you never know who needs answers to these questions. Additionally, if you have any specific questions about this video as they pertain to your unique circumstances, please schedule a consultation with us also at the link below. And I'll see you in the next video.